Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited about um, being with PSSA members, as my mother was a longtime member and, of course, past president. Um, and wonderful to see you. Just a couple of you I may know, Alice and Trish, hi. Um, and I'm going to first give tribute to my mother. And her name is Priscilla Maynard, also known as Andrea. And I'll be showing my development, and I'm going to be showing about my silk painting, and then also how I use silk dye on watercolor paper. And at the very end, there'll be a very tiny demonstration so you can see what that looks like. I don't see your hands, but how many of you knew my mother or have heard of her, Priscilla Maynard? Yeah, probably a few. um, and she was a master of Sumi painting. And she's also just she was an amazing teacher for me. I learned how to see from her instruction when I was young. And I'll tell you a little bit about her, and then again, show you her development and her journey. And so we're all going to be on a journey, and I'm going to get some water. Just a second. There we go. So she grew up in Miami and earned a master's degree in fine arts at the University of Iowa. And after World War II, she bicycled through Europe, filling sketchbooks. And then on her second trip to Europe, she met my father, her future husband, and they traveled together. So this is a photo of them in their 50th wedding anniversary, 1950. So that was then. And then she had us for children when she managed to still draw, which was amazing. 4 of us was a handful. And she was still sketching. And as you can see, this is me as a little infant. So that was a love that she kept going. And probably some of you who are mothers know that that's not necessarily an easy thing to keep painting or sketching when you have children. And here is an image of me, a portrait of me. I'm guessing I was about 7 or 8. So you can see the masterful work with the pastels in this. She tried a lot of different mediums, and including this one, which is an oil portrait of a self-portrait, and then my sister Lisa as a child in the background. So we were bonded. Andrea is the name I know her of her, and again, she taught me how to see, which was just such an extraordinary gift. She would show me how to work something like a vase and show the roundness in on a page, and how to bring something to life and work with light and dark. And so I carried my sketchbook everywhere, and so did she. And this is, I'm showing you some images both from her sketchbook and from mine. So this is her sketchbook. Beautiful feeling of cats, and these are birds. We would go to places where we could, like the zoo, and see birds and then sketch them together. And these were her birds in her sketchbook. And these are my birds. So you can kind of see that there's some similarities as we were using brush pen, which it's a medium that I still love. If any of you know of it, it's just a lovely pen that already has the ink in it, and then you can use it as you travel. And here is an image of my ranger cabin when I was a ranger up at Mount Rainier. So again, I carried my sketchbook everywhere. Yes. And then in Europe, she came to meet me over in Paris, and we also continued to sketch. This is one of her images from a Paris fountain. And another of hers. And this is an image from mine. Again, using some fun watercolors and, plein air painting, which is something I totally love. Whenever I get a chance to go outside and paint, it's such a delight, as probably a lot of you already know. And these are, again, images from my sketchbook, a cathedral near Paris. I think this was Chartres. And this is, again, an image from my sketchbook, which was Florence. Not Florence, this was Venice. And again, isn't it wonderful when you sketch how much more you see? Then everything around you comes alive, and always looking at the right place of just setting down a sketchbook and doing a few quick, senses of what is alive in front of you. And as you see, my mother, Priscilla, was an amazing master at brushstroke. And I really get what it takes for all of you to spend hours and hours perfecting that brushstroke so that, the classic bamboo or the chrysanthemum or just the free painting that she's doing still takes so much masterful strokes to learn how the brush performs on the page, as you all know. And this is of my niece and her granddaughter, Sanayet, painting together. And I'm showing you a few of her Sumi paintings. I know most of you already are aware that when you do Sumi, what she would do is you would meditate on whatever is in front of you that you're wanting to paint. So you get the very essence, the chi of the spirit of whatever it is that's in front of you. And just with these quick, light strokes with the right kind of paint, amount of paint, and you just put it on paper very spontaneously. And it turns out so luscious. And again, I was always in awe of her ability to take something and without pre-planning at all, just having that rice paper and just making those masterful strokes. She did a number of rugs, and then this is Parsley, our cat, on the rug. So much beauty. And what's so beautiful too is she did a whole set of animals that she showed at the Foster White Gallery in downtown Seattle. And again, showing you the masterful brush strokes and her sense of design and beauty. And whenever she taught classes at Telos, BCC, Bellevue Community College Telos program, for 30 years she taught there. And whenever she would teach, before she would begin the brushstroke, she would do qigong with everyone so that they would be moving and she would get the flow. and the feel of the brush strokes, in the body and animated in the cells of the body. So there was more than just, an intellectual process. It was a very much of an engagement and a life force coming through, as you see with these brush strokes. They're full of, what we call Shakti or life force. Beautiful connection there. And that's very different from how I paint. And I'll show you later that I make everything, I have a pretty systematic process of getting ready for the final painting, where she just like takes the brush and does it after studying this, in this case, a photograph of an elephant. But this is called Ancient Wisdom. Yeah, just capturing the essence right there. And some of you may know that in the 1990s, her eyesight began to gradually decline due to macular degeneration. So she still managed to paint, which was amazing. I would go over to her studio, and she would ask me, what did I, we'd put it up on the wall, and she said, what did I paint? And I would describe it, and then I would take her hand, and we would mix the paint together, and then I would take her hand and I would have her hold the brush, and then we would put it on the paper, and so that she could feel when the paper, when the brush stroke happened on the paper. Still touches me today. So there was a time where her eyesight got deteriorated so much that she wasn't able to do that any longer. And so she began to write poetry. And this is one that I think you all saw in the newsletter. But it's beautiful. My brush is in my hand, making sense of its existing. The idea rises from the dantian from belly, moves up through light stations to the top of head and down past shoulder and elbow, wrist, keeping fluid into hand, into upright brush, poised for possibilities, black ink. We have that whole feeling of her whole body being engaged. So beautiful. And as was mentioned in the newsletter, we collected a number of her poems and her paintings and put them together in a book of her paintings and poetry called Remembering the Light. And these are some of them from that book.
I have a question about the book,
Please
Robin.
do. Yes.
Is it still available for purchase?
No, I have the last copy. However, if I get enough of interest, I would love to republish it. So maybe towards the end, if people do want a copy, some of you may already have a copy, but if you need a copy, please, let's just talk about that at the end, because there's been, as I see it, I'd like to get it out a little more. And of course, now we have methods of publication that are much simpler than what we had back then. So I would love to reprint if there's enough interest.
Okay.
How does that sound? Yeah, good.
Sounds perfect.
For everybody. Beautiful. So nibbles. The sun ate a late lunch today, slithering down the black fur, gobbling branches, cones and all, leaving gold in payment. Crumbs of yellow fall upon my path. Brilliant shapes guide me in the darkness so I can walk alone. Bon appetit, friend sun. Ooh. In my shadow world, I see the wind in the poplars. I hear the new snow dropping. I feel mist softening my face by the waterfall. I sense the grasses turn yellow with summer. I know the black presence of gathering crows. I recall how rivers reflect skies. These are things I know and remember and paint. Before you go, I want to become acquainted with the darkness. In there is magic. There are sounds I've never heard before. There are senses unexplored. My nose quivers in a new world. My fingers feel what I have not noticed. They tell me softness, chenille or wool, or the edge of chair. My feet find old stones and stairs. Is this darkness or a new kind of light? Let me become acquainted before you go. My gratitude lives deep for all the colors of my days, for black ink and white of paper. Does it matter where the brush touches paper? But let me paint that lost strong stroke before you go. Ooh. Let me paint that last strong stroke before you go. And this is a poem written by Nancy Talley. It's called Sumi Painter for Priscilla Maynard. Raw paper drinks the first black spot, suggesting a haunch. The power of the hind leg, spot after spot, black on the raggedy surface, until the haunch bears weight. Spot after spot, climbs the supple back. That lumbar curve, riding the lower spine of cats, then shoulders, neck, then ears, the intelligent face turns. A cheetah meets my stare. 2. I sighed. The first spot must have come to cloud a word on a page, a smudge perhaps on her glasses. She must have shook her head and turned the book this way and that and blinked and waited for the spot to drift. Second sight. And when the darkness fully comes, when blindness cradles, memory of light and line, I hold the faith. I hold the faith she will recall. Black spots. Black spots do also cheetahs make. Black spots do also cheetahs make. So that's just to show you her amazing dignity and her perseverance and her grace in the face of trouble, and a light that I carry with me from her own shining, and rekindled a spark from her. And I have such deep gratitude for her to have lit the flame inside of me. So from here, I'm going to show you my art that has been kindled by her flame. I was fortunate enough to be in Paris for a year, and my mother visited me at the end of that time and said, "Is there anything you would want to do before you end your trip in France?" I said, "Yes. I've seen these amazing images of what they call in France peinture sur soie." Peinture sur soie. Cristello may correct
Yes, that's
that. Boy, my French is really rusty. I'm sorry.
no, no, it's perfect.
There was this beautiful image. It's nothing I had seen in the US. It was this beautiful line and then this color that was just so luminous. So I learned about the painting on silk in Paris, and then brought the dyes, the silk, and what they call gutta, which is that line, back home with me. As I had not seen anything like this. So these were my first attempts to, see what it could do with scarves and wall hangings. And I ended up putting 3 pieces into the Bellevue, in the Northwest Bellevue Art Show every year in Bellevue, the big one. And I got in. So then I created all of my inventory for the booth plus a booth. And this was one of the screens that was there at that first show. And I had so much fun. I was just having such a good time with this silk dye and finding out what it could do. You know, and the gold that you see is this, what they call gutta, which is Gutta, which is basically a rubber-based line that you put on with kind of a little squeeze bottle so that you outline everything with gutta, and then you get to paint inside, and then the dye doesn't spill over. Because if you don't have any gutta, it just kind of runs like it does with wet, very wet rice paper, it just spreads. So to contain it, you do this gutta.
A quick question before
Sure.
using the gutta, do you trace?
Yes, I've got a pattern. This is where I prepare, right? Andrea did not prepare, she just did it, which is always amazing to me. But this is always, yeah, I'm stretching the silk. I am tracing the design with pencil on the silk. And then I'm putting on the gutta, and then I do the color.
Wow.
So it's an involved process, but again, you can get all these lovely variations in between the guttas. It just has this flow to it that is what I totally loved. It was when I tried it in Paris, it was love at first sight. I said, I've got to try this. It's just so luscious, nothing I had seen before, right? So, and as you can see, I used some Asian kind of motifs and incorporated those into some of my slides, some of my screens. I did a number of screens and then another screen again.
Wow.
Creating a scene so somebody can just feel into what it's like to walk into a pond and see a blue heron standing there. What fun is that? Yeah. And a detail. And as you can see, that kind of watercolor feel of the flow of the dye on the silk has just got this gorgeous luminosity. And again, another screen. That is the detail of it. Also, you can tell me if I'm going too slow or too fast, okay?
I
So-
have a question before you
Yeah,
move off
yeah.
those landscapes. How do you get that wonderful soft background before, I guess, before you start sketching the figure? That sort of
Yes,
bleeds a little bit.
right. So that's usually the first layer. In other words, the first thing is I'm tracing the pattern. The silk is stretched. You got to stretch it out because you can't paint when it's all warped, right? So you stretch the silk and then you trace actually I had a light table that worked so beautifully. So I could trace it with pencil. And then do the Gouda, which holds everything in place. And then the next thing is you take these wonderful big brushes, right, which you all know about, hockey brush, and you've got dyes already mixed, and then you've tested out the color, and then you put water on all of the background first. I can go back here. I could put water. I did that in 2 sections, by the way. That first 2 sections on the left, and then the next 2 sections on the right. So I didn't do all of it at once, but I painted that whole the sky and the water first. Pretty sure I did, and then did all the
Pretty
detail
cool.
in that. Does that make
So,
sense?
and then I think the one after this, there was a line. No, it's not. Maybe before the
Before
screen,
that?
there was sort of a curving line that looked like you'd actually gotten the pigment off of it. It's hard to describe. If you go back one more, maybe. Yeah, on the right there's 2 lines. They're like the little whipping lines coming
Oh,
up.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How did you like go through the pigment to get those lines? How did you get those?
that's Gouda.
Oh, that's
Those
Gouda.
those
Oh,
those gold lines are the Gouda. So
okay.
it keeps the lines in, it keeps the color inside of it somewhat, and you can see how it spreads. That has a little curl, and then you see how it spreads.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I'll show you a little more about the process. I've changed techniques since then, but you can see that's kind of the basics for this particular technique.
Wonderful.
Does that
Thank
make
you.
sense? Does that answer your
Mhm.
question? Yeah, great. Great. So having fun, right? I did a wedding veil for something called the Friends of the Rag, which was a fun, wearable art kind of extravaganza thing that they did at the Seattle Center. And somebody got married in this. And I didn't wear it for my wedding just because it was a little too much, but I had it on the wall. But it was a really fun piece because again, you can see the softness of the flow of the color. Yeah. And again, I'm going to show you a few more Gouda pieces. This is called Tara, and she is a goddess of compassion in the Tibetan tradition. I'll tell you more about Tara as I'll show you another version of her. But as you can see, that gold, Gouda shines, nicely and kind of brings out the elegance of that kind of image. And another one, this is the Black Madonna, which I want to tell you just a little bit about the goddesses, because these are a series that I did of goddesses. And it's kind of fun to just tell you a tiny bit about what inspired these. The image is from an 18th century Russian icon. And the Black Madonna and the Christ Child are found in Europe's most venerated sacred sites. And there's like 300 Black Madonnas sites in France alone. So, and many of the Black Madonna statues have had the black paint kissed off because of pilgrims coming to them in reverence and you know, leaving healed of their afflictions. So she's just really revered, and I wanted to honor her in the painting. And this one, as you see from the Egyptian, Nut and Isis. So Nut is the goddess of the sky, and during the night, it's said that she swallows the sun, and it passes through her body during the night, and she gives birth in the morning. That's why the sunrise is red. And she shields us mortals from the open sky, right? And then, you know, the sun travels through her body. And then Nut gave birth to Isis, who's the winged goddess, who fans her outstretched wings to give breath to her dead husband, which was Osiris. You might know that wonderful myth. And so her wings reveal the power of resurrection, excuse me. Her wings fan us into resurrection. So, and again, hieroglyphics in the background that I did that. Beautiful. And another goddess, one of the most ancient actually, is the Venus of Willendorf. Is an image of a small statue from one of the earliest female figurines ever found 25,000 years ago. It was a time when the matriarch was prevalent actually on the planet. And these images around her are taken from the pottery shards of the Neolithic era. And again, this is a time when the culture honored women and the birth-giving, you know, power of women. And I painted this to give us tribute to our ancestry and reverence for the feminine, giver of life. And by the way, this was a little different technique I was playing with. I was doing a stippling with a toothbrush to get that spotted feel. Now this was a whole nother technique, a whole nother adventure. I was commissioned, as I was a ranger on Mount Rainier, as I mentioned. There's a beautiful little retreat center close by called Wellspring, and she commissioned me to do a painting in honor of her space. So I have a special fondness for the mountain, given my connection to Mount Rainier, and love for all creatures that live in it. So as the sun rises on Mount Rainier, you're seeing these little creatures. Now, just to let you know about this technique, in order for the paint, I first of all did the background, which was that wash, a lot of the wash, but then I treated the whole thing with something called sodium alginate, which keeps the dye from spreading as much. So it gives it a little more of a texture of dry watercolor paper. So I could get these details of the bear and the elk and the raven and, you know, and the little cottages of Wellspring and the raccoon and the owl and the, you know, what is it, blue heron. All of these were fun little details to do, given that the silk could take a little more detail instead of spreading. So it was playing with different ways to do that. You know, it said this is into the lake, and all of nature plays as the day awakens over the ridges of Mount Rainier. So kind of fun, a fun tribute to what's, you know, those of you in Tacoma, still in your backyard. Mount Rainier being an amazing place to be. Yeah. And now for something completely different. I did, in the 1990s, I did 2 enormous banners for this Body and Soul conference. I'll show you these. They were 12 feet high. And this was a whole new technique. It was silk dye on, a stretched silk. And then I used airbrush and then found a way of working with stencil. So I'll show you how I did that right here.
Robin, did you learn these techniques in Paris or did you make your own techniques?
I made it up.
Okay.
I made this one up. Yeah. A couple of techniques that I didn't know about and that I just, actually, I had a commission from from a design firm to do some bow ties and scarves for their, upscale employees. And then it required me to use an airbrush. So I learned how to use an airbrush for the first time. And then I found, wow, well, what if we play with it, right? And see what can be done. So with an airbrush, you can actually, I don't know if anybody's used a stencil, but basically you block out, you mask out. I use clear contact paper, not contact paper. I use kind of clear film to block out certain places. And, all again, I have the design on the silk first, and then I trace with the where I want the shape of the airbrush to go, and then I block out the place that doesn't want the airbrush. In other words, so that it stays the same. Hope that makes sense. You'll see it here. Yeah. So like the as you see his hands upraised, I blocked out the area around the hand, and then the white came down onto the hand and could make that kind of in and out of space kind of feel. Yeah. Had fun with this. And again, it was fun to work big and see what could happen with most of it was just this free form. The very first thing was stretching the silk. The second thing was putting water over the whole thing, and then having dye already mixed in bigger containers like this, because it was a big space, using a big brush, and then just flowing that on, knowing kind of where I wanted things, but then having this lovely organic flow, which is what I love about painting on silk. And as you see, you can get, soft edges and detail. And then, of course, something like a galaxy above, you're just doing it freehand without any masking. And you can set the airbrush to different, you can go really, really fine, or you can go like in the galaxy, you can see more of a stippling feel. So playing with that. Yes. So now we move into just some fun. This was when I started experimenting with silk dye on watercolor paper. And wow, finding how luscious it was. I was surprised. It was not like watercolors where there's paste. It comes out in a tube and it's kind of pasty and you need a lot of it to make strong color. This is like one drop and it gives you zing, this gorgeous vibrancy, which I adore. And so I did a series of roses, again, just to experiment and find out, oh, what's this like? Seeing how it all flows. And then that translated into banners for a conference that I was part of called the Women of Wisdom. And the watercolors on the left, the silk dye silk painting is on the right. This was again fairly big. Gosh, 6 feet tall, maybe. 3 feet wide or so, and that's one of them. And the other one is this one. So again, showing that the airbrush combined with thickener, some of the lines in the rose is also not airbrush, but I can combine something called sodium alginate with the dye. And it creates it enables me to put the dye on and have it stay in a relatively, not spread all over the place, but stay in a space. I'll show you more of those. So from there, does that make sense?
And here you said that you are working on paper, not on silk.
No, I'm sorry, that's a little confusing. So this is silk.
Okay.
This is silk, and the one on the right is silk. The one on the left is paper. I just wanted to show how I transitioned into rose into something on silk. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this is silk. And the next sets will be silk. And that is silk. Yeah. Yeah, please, anytime you have a question or it's confusing. And the lines down below, these lines are the, again, the thickener helped the lines stay in one place, but it also gives you nice fluidity. Now we go into a series I call the chakra series, which are, again, pretty big. These are about, 3 feet by 4 feet, something like that. Let me see here. Yeah, 3 feet by 4 feet high. And I wanted to show, some of you may know what a chakra is. It's basically the wheel of energy in the body that the ancients refer to as, power centers in our bodies. And what I showed is, the bones behind, and then the symbol of the chakra, which is that white with a red around it, is a symbol of the first chakra. And this is the first chakra, which is about grounding. It's about tribe. It's about finding your place in the world and feeling safe. And so this is the image that I wanted to convey, is the pelvis and the legs and the sturdiness of that wonderful first chakra when it's in alignment. And again, the peony had a lot of fun with, again, the thickener and then letting it flow, and then finding out what wanted to happen with studying a peony, but also then bringing out the life force and the fire, right, within it. Fun to do. And life enhancing, right? So here we are with the first chakra. And this is the fourth chakra. Showing this is, again, the fourth chakra is the heart. And again, the symbol of the green inside of the rose is the symbol of the fourth chakra, and a showing of, the rib cage behind, the rib cage, and then the breath coming in, and this place when the heart chakra opens, this light coming in, and the rose in your heart blooms in love and gratitude and connection with others, and this beautiful vibration of love, which is the highest vibration on the planet. So this is this lovely symbol of a rose opening to the heart. Also the color of pink or green. And a little more of a detail of that. Great. And the third chakra, which is again of the solar plexus, showing the vitality of sun and life force and a sunflower and aliveness. And this is the seventh chakra, which is again the top of the head, coming up and out. And again, you see the skull, which is looking down. You're looking down from the top. The symbol of the seventh chakra is on the very top. And then she's just leaping into spirit, and then the earth below, and the feeling of, again, ascension. And we are more than these bodies, right? We're spirit, and that energy flying into light. A little more of a detail. And this is a painting I have actually right here on my side, which is Aphrodite, which she is born, the goddess of Greek mythology of love. And she's born out of sea foam in the midst of a wild storm, right? And rays of sunlight pierce through the dark clouds right here. And the sky reveals the face of the Divine Mother. So even though her face may be hidden by clouds, may you be reaching towards light. Ooh. There we go. And seeing the face of Mary in the clouds. Aphrodite reaching up. And speaking of Mary, one of my favorite paintings that I did on silk again is Mary. I received a vision of her, stepping out from the edge of the ocean as the sun sets behind her. And again, she's holding a rose, somehow enamored with roses. And then within each petal of the petals are falling of the rose. Within each petal, a different stage of life is happening. Beautiful. And so you can see in here different stages of life. And can you hold for just a sec? I just need to tell you. Brian? Yeah. Oh, can you just not do that? Sorry, guys. Otherwise, we'd be disrupted. Okay. So within each petal, there's a different stage of life. And even into our passing, the energy of the divine feminine is holding us and reminding you to be gentle on yourself no matter what stage of life you're in, right? So divine compassion is always present. Beautiful. And Christelle, I want to just check with you about timing. Is it okay to just keep going? Because I do have more.
Yeah, you still have some time.
Okay, good. Just because I've got definitely more to go and I'd love to share. So beautiful. And this one is, again, one of my favorites is Tara. I received this vision of Tara in the universe, and she's blessing our solar system, which radiates outward from her center. And again, this is silk painting. It's one of my bigger ones. She's actually right here. 4 feet wide by 5 feet high, so quite big. And Tara, from the Tibetan tradition, was the first female that vowed to become enlightened in a woman's body. We love her, right? So she connotates compassion, and praises are chanted in her name as she's the goddess of compassion. She sits on a lotus, She sits on a lotus and her hands are held in sacred mudras with one foot tucked underneath her, symbolizing her deep state of meditation. And the other foot extended out to alleviate the suffering of all beings. So you're sensing that sense of compassion and connection as she blesses our little gorgeous planet in the vast dark space spinning around the sun. So there's an energy field that's holding all of us, which is amazing. Beautiful. Now the next slides are, again, me experimenting with another technique. This is silk dye on watercolor paper, and then I'm also using gouache. So this is a series I call The Peaceful Presence. And this one's called Purple Mountain Majesty. And what I did is I first do silk dye on watercolor paper, and then I rinse it off underwater, under running water, and then I cover, while it's still wet, I cover the whole thing with a lovely wash of gouache. And then I rinse that off, and then I come back with more gouache and more silk dye to get, it's just dimensional. Gets several different layers going at the same time. This one's called Opening. I like the luminous quality that this gives. The Way Home. Moon Rose. And this one's called Light My Fire. Beautiful. And now I'm going to show you a series that I did because some of you may know that I'm also a coach. I've been a coach for the past 32 years. My work is called Becoming Lighter, and it's about women being able to it's not just about losing weight, it's more about becoming lighter on all levels. So what that means is transformation. And this series is part of what I was hoping for to be a book. We'll see. But it's about each of the stages of evolution. So this one is through the process of transformation. So this one is called From Shame to Safety. So this one's called Safety. And these are called the Healing Gifts. And this one's called From Confusion to Clarity. So again, clarity. From Compulsion to Compassion. Compassion. From Frustration to Freedom. And this one is Freedom. And this is From Deprivation to Abundance. Abundance. And me with abundance. This is actually a print on wonderful metal surface, which is really cool. And this one's called Metamorphosis because I wanted to show in my work with Becoming Lighter the process of coming from a heavy shame-based state into lightness and what that's like. So in the beginning, the woman hides her body in a cocoon of shame. And then she begins to unfold out of the cocoon and unwraps the heavy burden of the past, untangles the shame and the guilt that has kept her stuck and heavy. And then her body becomes a trusted partner in the transformation. As she tunes in and listens to her body, right? She glows with inner radiance, and her body naturally becomes lighter, releasing weight, right? As she soars with uplifted energy and life force, right? There's a new sense of self. So all of the next ones, of course, you just saw, all of those were silk dye and watercolor paper plus gouache. And these are also watercolor paper and gouache and silk dye. So I'm just going to show you relatively quickly some of the paintings that are my more current one. This one's called Celebration. And again, for the Women of Wisdom Conference, showing the camaraderie of all of us dancing together. Yes. And this one is Leap, showing we are leaving an old form of stagnation and heaviness and darkness and leaping, right? If you've ever gone to a new place without knowing what's next, this shows you that process of leap. Dragon Queen. Showing power. And some of you may know this, warrior, I call her a warrior woman, just symbolizes that wonderful strength and clarity and boundary making that we all can use sometimes as women. Fierce and strong and courageous. This one's called The Universe in Me, and this was inspired by that amazing, awesome photos from the Webb telescope that some of you might have seen, where they show the galaxies. I'm just so amazed. And I painted the vision that I saw there, connecting heaven and earth, so that she's holding Earth while the galaxies are spinning. And these are the same energy that makes up the galaxies are radiating through the cells of our body. And may we all be holding the earth with such reverence for life force, because we as humans are on the cutting edge of evolution. We are here, we're the voice of the earth, and we're holding her. And to see both the macrocosm and the microcosm inside of our own cells entering in, right? This one's called Holding Sun. I painted this in February where there was no sun to be found, saying, I need some sun. So she's blessing again our earth. This one is Take Flight. And Spring, a Spirit of Spring. And the Lotus of Love. And that one is celebrates, intuition and inner knowing. That is gives us guidance in everyday life as we listen to inner stillness, and that wisdom can actually unfold petal by petal within us, and that connects to the intelligence of the universe in the subtle realms, this invisible field. The petals of energy that surround us also are here with us. holding us all in beauty and love and blessing. Okay, and now, guess where we're going? Yes, women dancing with vegetables. This is my series that I'm excited about bringing forward to show you. And as a health, I'll just be going through these relatively quickly. As a health coach, you know, for the past 32 years, I've just been helping women who struggle with food and weight. And they often, you know, they try to lose weight only to regain it back. So I just knew that working with Life Force and the way that vegetables are so amazing, they give us vitality. They give us energy, right? And they're, you know, if we could open to the possibility that ordinary fruits and vegetables that we take for granted every day are a source of wonder and delight, and you know, just getting mesmerized by the maze of what happens when you cut a cabbage in half. How amazing that is. So in this series of, I'm going to be doing 30 paintings. There's 27 of them here. 3 more to go. So you can see I intend to show a deep appreciation for the gifts of nature brought to us from all over the world. You know, a tangible and tasty affirmation of the interconnectedness of all life. How fun, right? Wouldn't you want to just be prancing in front of a parade of radishes? And this is what you get, again, this is what you get if you eat chard. You get Life Force. That's a whole nother thing, which is amazing, is, you know, vegetables like chard take in the vitality of sunlight and change it to chlorophyll. And when we eat it, we're actually eating liquid sunlight. And that's why it's so incredibly nurturing for us. They call these vegetables and fruits life-enhancing foods because they're going to extend your life, prolongation, actually. And by the way, I have an artist talk about that that's going to tell this much more in detail. I'll talk more about that in a moment. But this is zucchini, as you can see. She climbed up a zucchini and diving off. How fun. And there we are. Yes, and lettuce. And obviously raspberries. Banana. Yeah, wouldn't you just love to slide off a banana peel? So with these images, you know, my passion combined, and this is actually, I just need to tell you that, you know, I was at a retreat and a friend just said, "Oh, my wife is 8 months pregnant. Do you want a picture of her for her your vegetables?" I said, "Are you kidding me?" Of course. So she posed for me with this, and Mott Rainier in the background, and just so much fun to have her be part of the work. And kale. Yeah. And yeah, vitality, what you get when you eat tomatoes. Strength, right? A little power there. Beautiful. And as you can see that my work as a health coach combined with my love for painting on silk, just to kind of, this was a natural extension. that is about showing that healthy eating can be fun. And, you know, wouldn't you just wanting to entice viewers to say, hey, come, taste a little avocado, man. It's got fat that is very similar to breast milk. It's like that good for you. And, you know, snap peas. And this is me just preparing for the next one, which is blueberries. But as you see, I have my setup in front of me, which I'll show you at the very end, which is how I kind of put everything together, but always having the real thing in front of me, like blueberries, to get the real understanding of, okay, this is what they look like, and capturing the essence of that. And this, by the way, is she's juggling blueberries into the sky, and then above her, the constellations and galaxies are all made of blueberries. And cherries. And watermelon. And she wanted to climb a watermelon mountain. And eggplant.
Yeah, Robin, I don't know if you can see the chat, but a lot of members are commenting and they found your art like gorgeous, and the last few pieces they say that it's really joyful to see.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear. I can't see the chat, so I'm glad you're telling me, because that's what I want to share. I want to share the joy of, like, what's it like to you know, slice a pepper open and see those seeds that can jangle again with your skirt, right? If you're a belly dancer. And just again, the fun. So thank you for saying that, because that's exactly why I'm doing this, is to show how amazing vegetables are. And this is me in my studio. By the way, when I was doing those big silk paintings, as I probably mentioned, I was in a large studio space where I could set it all up, but now I had to downsize, and this is my space I have downstairs, which is actually in my dining room, which I get to look out over Carkeep Park, and have my dyes and everything right there. So this is me painting those peppers. And asparagus. And again, you know, a reminder that this is what you get when you eat asparagus. You get love. It loves you back, man. You love it, and she loves you back. So why not hug a tree today, or maybe even your asparagus, right? And joy and vitality and ability to do yoga in front of an artichoke. And strawberries floating. Fun, alive energy. And beets. This is my last of this 27. As I said, I have 3 more to go. I have them all drawn and all the colors worked out. I just need to make them happen on the watercolor paper. So that's my next piece. Yeah. So are you curious about the next ones? I can tell you now if you're wanting to know. Well, you know what? Let's just say that on the end when I see all of you together. So this is my brother, Chris, who also gave you a wonderful presentation at PSSA. He does feather folio. He carves feathers. He's got this gorgeous studio set up, and he offered to get me the frames for all of my originals wholesale or at a reduced cost. And then he offered to help me frame. And that was just like such an amazing gift. So I'm so forever grateful for him. And then he came to my show at the downtown. I had a show at the Woodlands. It's called the Wood Art Studio in downtown Seattle, which is right across from the Seattle Art Museum. So it was a fabulous place. And I had all 27 of my paintings up for several months. I was really blessed. And there's Chris, and he brought me a tomato. So how cool is that, right? And as I mentioned, I will be finishing an artist talk that will be on video. So again, I'm totally open to if anybody's interested in hearing more about vegetables and seeing the process. I'm going to tell you a lot more about the the development of how I created these. Just let me know at the end. I'm giving you some information that I'd love to hear from you if you want to hear more of this artist talk. And here we are.
In the chat, I put the links for your websites.
Oh, beautiful. And I've got them right here in the next slide. But isn't this fun?
It is.
This is my tech wizard who's doing some animations for me. Like, I am so thrilled. So that's where we're going. We're going to be doing some fun stuff. Beautiful. Okay. And the last slide, that's I'm glad you put in the chat as well, but that's my website where you can see a lot of my art. I don't have my latest ones up, but robinmaynarddobbs.com is, if you do sign up for my newsletter, that's the one where you can sign up. And then I'd be happy to put you in a drawing for a free print if you're interested, because it's fun. I do a drawing every now and then, and I just draw a name, and I'll let you know if you receive a free print. Also dancingwithvegetables.com, you'll see all of my magnets, my cards, greeting cards, which are really fun for people. Just $6 or $5 for magnets. Super, super easy to make happen for gifts for people if you're interested. And then prints that are, from $40 to $90. So the Giclées are $90, which are really reasonable. So that's it. I'm going to stop share. Okay. Are you seeing me?
Yes, we can see you. Thank you so much, Robin. It was so mesmerizing.
Welcome.
Does
So
anyone...
I know we're kind of at time, but do you want me to just show you super quick about how I do it or not? Mother's Day is coming. Yes. Thank you, Teacher Lisa. It is a great Mother's Day present, I have to tell you. And I'm, again, so delighted to have been able to introduce my mother to you. And I'm so glad that you were here to see it.
Robin,
Yeah, Trish.
this is Trish Rogers.
Yeah.
I have a number of your mother's paintings and a number from the series from Africa, but my favorite was a piece she was doing for the background of the monkeys or apes of some sort jumping across.
Oh, right.
And so I've got the little one. I say little, it's 36 inches, but I mean, I've got the little one that she did in preparation for that is background for the larger one. And it's pure joy.
Oh, Trish, it's first of all, great to see you.
Good to see you.
It's been a long, long time. And I'm so glad, because that is really a live monkeys jumping. It was really a gorgeous painting. So thank you for mentioning
it. Really is. It's one of my favorites. Mother has the big leopard.
Oh, wow. That's brilliant too. Yeah.
Anyway,
Robin,
it's good to see you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're
this
happy.
is Emily Kane. I'm a longtime student of your mother's, and just so
Yes,
you know,
Emily.
for the record, in the beginning, during your tribute presentation to Priscilla, Andrea, that is me holding her paper down and behind the post. And that was a wonderful day on the front porch of Liesl Salser's house in Leshai. She came over that day. We used to go to Liesl's, a bunch of us, every Wednesday. And that day we asked your mother to come by because she and Liesl were friends too. So those were my two art mothers, but that was a really amazing day with her painting really big on the front porch. So just wanted to let you know. It's good to see you. Thank you.
I am so thrilled to hear that because I got that from the tribute to my mother that my brother did just at her memorial, and I had not known about that painting before, that image. So I've slid it in there, and I'm so glad you came and commented. Thank you.
I think Nancy Ford took that picture. She was one of the people who, another student of your mom's. So.
Beautiful.
I sure miss her.
Yeah. So Christella, do we have time for just a quick demonstration or a little more questions?
I think
what would be best?
We have like around 3 more minutes.
Yeah, so I want to go that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Just if anybody has questions, or how would you like to do this? If you contact, again, if you're interested in more, I'm so happy to share this with anyone who's interested. What would be best? Do you want to just take down my information? I can put my email in there.
What I will do is that I can also in the next newsletter put all your information in.
Perfect.
And people will be able to have that.
Contact.
And you also can send me all the information because sorry, I'm going to send also an email to all the members.
Perfect.
Christelle, the
yes?
chat doesn't seem to have the ability to save the chat right now. That
I would like to.
The little 3 dots that are usually there someplace so you can save the chat don't seem to be there.
Okay. I will copy. I have like something on Zoom also.
Okay.
Yeah. I will copy the chat and forward this to you, Robin.
Great. And thank you I hadn't seen these, so thank you for your comments. It really is, as an artist, you're busy working and then you don't know, how it's affecting people. So, and these days with Instagram and Facebook and everything, everybody's putting out their art and it's like, I don't know about you, but it's going to get too much. So it's beautiful to be able to focus and, have a place where it's appreciated and the legacy is appreciated as well of my mother. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Robin.
Thank you.
Wonderful program.
You're so
Thank you
welcome.
so much.
And again, I'd love to hear from anyone, if you want to talk about vegetables or art, just feel free to contact me because I'm, again, would love to hear for any reason, I'd love to hear from anyone who's an artist, who's doing some incredible work. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure and best wishes to all of you. I'll get the information to you, Christella, about anything to be included in the newsletter.
Thank you so much, Robin.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks to everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, everyone. This has been wonderful.